This is the Hope Diamond. It's a 45.52 carat, deep blue gem, the largest of its kind in the world. It's beautiful, it's priceless, and it's said to be cursed, leaving a trail of misery, madness, and death in its wake. This is the story of the Hope Diamond and the tragedies it may have wrought. The story starts not in a palace or a vault, but 1 billion years ago, 100 miles beneath the Earth's surface. There, immense pressure crushed carbon into a crystal, a common enough process. But in this instance, something rare occurred. Boron fused into the crystal structure, tinting it a deep, mesmerizing ocean blue. Eventually, volcanic activity pushed the gem closer to the surface, where, centuries ago, it was unearthed in India's legendary Kollur mine. India was once thought to be the only source of diamonds on Earth, which drew French merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier there in the mid-1600s. He made 6 incredible journeys to the area, and on one, he acquired a heart-shaped, 112-carat, rough-cut blue diamond. It was later named the Tavernier Violet, violet being another word for blue back then. Now some state that he stole it from the eye of the statue of a Hindu idol, but in fact it was acquired the old-fashioned way. Tavernier later sold the stone, along with over 1,000 other diamonds, to King Louis XIV of France. The blue gem alone made up 25% of that total price. You see, the stone had something special about it. Tavernier himself, despite legends of him being ripped apart by dogs, lived a long and prosperous life, and he even spent his older days near the shores of Lake Geneva. King Louis XIV also enjoyed a good long life. He had the diamond cut down to a more fashionable 67 carats and set as the centerpiece of the French crown jewels, where it became known as the French blue. It remained in the royal family for generations, passing through the hands of kings without much of note happening. That is, until King Louis XVI, who was in power during the French Revolution. The French Revolution was of course a tumultuous time in France's history, and like many others, both the king and his wife, Marie Antoinette, lost their heads. The diamond is sometimes blamed for the queen's death, but in reality, she never actually wore it. So, this claim is thought to be spurious. The French blue was stolen in 1792, disappearing into the shadows of history, but only temporarily. 2 decades later, it resurfaced in London, in the possession of a gem merchant named Daniel Eliasson. It had been cut down again, this time to 44 carats, possibly to disguise it. There are some claims that it briefly fell into the hands of King George IV, but by 1839 it was firmly in the possession of a wealthy London banking family named Hope, and that's where it gets its most famous name. Thomas Hope brought the Hope diamond into the family. Then, after his death, it bounced down through heirs, wills, and bankruptcies, like a gem in a pachinko machine. It went to a jewelry firm, then briefly to a Sergeant Habib on behalf of the Sultan of Turkey, who then ended up having financial problems and selling it once again. Finally, in 1920, Pierre Cartier of the famous jewelry family acquired it, and that's where the curse legend truly takes hold. By the early 20th century, the discovery of large diamond mines in South Africa had made diamonds far more accessible. They were no longer solely the domain of royalty and the extremely wealthy. Cartier, a savvy businessman, knew that to sell his unique blue diamond for the price he wanted, he needed more than just its beauty. He needed a story. So he began to promote the idea of the Hope diamond being cursed. He marked the price up substantially. There were already some newspapers that started hinting that the diamond had a dark history, and with novels like Wilkie Collins's The Moonstone and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Sign of the Four, this was an easy narrative to sell. Evelyn Walsh McLean, a wealthy American socialite, and her husband, Ned, were captivated by the story. They purchased the diamond in 1920 for $180,000, roughly $4.5 million today. Evelyn wore it to parties, sometimes on her head in a tiara-like setting, sometimes around her neck. She even, at times, let her dog wear it. She had it blessed by a priest, pawned it temporarily to help raise money for the Lindbergh baby, and was pretty open when it came to talking about the curse. Tragedy, however, did seem to follow. Her 9-year-old son was killed in a car accident. Her marriage to Ned ended in divorce, and he later died in a sanitarium. Another of her children tragically took their own life. The headlines practically wrote themselves. After Evelyn's death in 1947, jeweler Harry Winston acquired the Hope diamond along with the rest of her collection. He toured it around North America before finally donating it to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History in 1958. Winston hoped to start a collection of American crown jewels and perhaps gain a sizable tax break. And that's where the diamond now resides, from the mantle of the earth to now the US Capitol. Today, the Hope diamond sits in the Janet Annenberg Hooker Hall of Geology, Gems and Minerals at the Smithsonian. It's in a rotating case, allowing visitors to get mere inches away, if you can fight through the crowds that constantly surround it. The diamond is arguably the most popular item in the entire museum. Some claim that due to its inclusion, it has now cursed the entire country. However, the more likely theory is that anyone who is wealthy enough to own a diamond of this magnitude probably already has a whole host of unique issues. Evelyn Walsh McLean wrote that the natural consequence of unearned wealth